Morning, everyone, and welcome to the Windward Buddhist Temple's virtual Dharma service. We will begin the service with the chanting of the Vandana and Ti-Sarana. This is found on page 7 of the Red Service book.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sammasambuddhassa. Homage to him, the exalted one, the enlightened one, the supremely awakened one. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. Namanda visu namanda namanda namanda.
The sutra for today is Gassho to Amida. This is found on page 121 of the Red Service book.
Namanda, 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 namanda. Namo Amida Butsu. I recite Amida's name with deep joy and gratitude. I gassho to Amida, trees and grasses and flowers all grow in great compassion. This light shines throughout the world. Flowers bloom and flowers fall. From the seed sprout new flowers. This is the truth unchanging. I gassho to Amida. Springtime brings the happy birds. Their songs all praise Amida. I join them in Nembutsu. I gassho to Amida. When I call Amida's name, it's Amida calling me. Buddha's voice, my voice are one. I gassho to Amida. When I'm lonely, I recite Namo Amida Butsu. then I feel great compassion. I Gassho to Amida, Nembutsu in work and play, every day with Amida, every moment filled with light. I Gassho to Amida, remember the golden chain, kindness to all living things. I will follow this teaching. I Gassho to Amida, in the clear bright morning sun, in the fading light of day, in the darkness of the night, I Gassho to Amida. Namo Amida Butsu. I live in great compassion. This great power guides my life. I Gassho to Amida. Shared equally by all, together attaining awakened mind. We are born in the land of peace. Namandao, 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 Namandao.
Please join me in reciting the Golden Chain of Love. This is found on page 126 of the Red Service book. I am a link in Amida Buddha's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I must keep my link bright and strong. I will try to be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will try to think pure and beautiful thoughts, to say pure and beautiful words, and to do pure and beautiful deeds, knowing that what I do now depends not only on my happiness or unhappiness, but also that of others. May every link in Amida's golden chain of love be bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Namo Amida Butsu. Good morning, everyone, and welcome again to the Windward Buddhist Temple's virtual Sunday Dharma service. As we continue to connect with each other virtually, let us be reminded of the new and innovative ways that we can share the Dharma through ways unknown to many of us prior to March of this year. As I am not scheduled to deliver a Dharma message next week, today I want to talk about Grandparents' Day, which is going to be next Sunday, the 13th. And so we wish all the very best to all the grandparents, great-grandparents, grandparent wannabe, surrogate grandparents, and virtually all people who are caregivers to the young. That means grandaunts, granduncles, as well as great-grandaunts and uncles. You don't have to be related through the genetic pool to qualify, right? There are all sorts of people who would qualify as a, quote, grandparent. So as Macy's and the rest of Ala Moana Center will be closed temporarily due to the pandemic, this offers us another way to innovatively gift your kupunas. Please join me by putting your hands together in reverence as I read the words of our founder, Shinran Shonin, in the Jodo Wasan. Seeing the sentient beings of the Nembutsu throughout the worlds, countless as particles in the 10 quarters, the Buddha grasps and never abandons them, and therefore is named Amida. Namo Amida Butsu. In Buddhism, we often hear about the teachings of karma. Karma is a word that has made it into Webster's dictionary, but the definition of the word karma in the dictionary is really lacking. In Webster's, karma is defined as destiny or fate. But in Buddhism, karma is not destiny, and karma is not fate. Karma simply means action or activity. In other words, karma encompasses all the activities, all of the causes and conditions, all of the people, and all of the events that have had to happen for this moment to exist right now. All of the causes and conditions to have happened for each of us to exist this very moment, right now. The activity that happens now karmically creates the future, and there is absolutely no doubt that our parents and grandparents are the most significant people whose lives truly allows us to be here today. If they did not exist and live the lives that they did, we would surely not be here today. And so we are here celebrating, especially today, our grandparents who will always remain a significant and essential part of the karma in our lives. Because of them, we are able to enjoy this day. So many of us have been fortunate to have our grandmother and grandfather a part of our lives growing up, with their love and their life lessons that are very much of who we are today. Many of us are very fortunate, actually, to be grandparents and great-grandparents as well. It was not through our effort that we are honored by being called grandma or grandpa, but through karmic conditions, we're able to enjoy this part of our lives. In the past, we of my generation always called them jichan or bachan. But if you are like me and my family, who had grandparents on another island, we would refer to them as Kauai Jichan or Maui Bachan. My own maternal grandmother passed away at an early age when my mother was a middle school student, I believe, but I had a great-grandmother who lived until I was in college. And so we refer to her as Obasan and not Bachan. In my own 2 sets of grandchildren, they just call me Grandpa, and they call the other grandfather Papa. In the Hawaiian culture, we are born as caregivers according to the native Hawaiian creation story, the Kumulipo. Wakea, Father Sky, and Papa, Mother Earth, creators of our beloved island chain home, had a beautiful daughter named Ho'oho Kukalani, whose name means the making of stars in the heavens. Wakea and Ho'oho Kukalani together conceived a child who was stillborn, shaped like a bulb and alu-alu, or deformed. Their son was named Haloa Naka, eternal life, and buried in the earth soil in a corner of their home. Out of Oho Kukalani's grieving, watery tears over her son's grave sprang a fragile, strong, and healthy plant, the kalo, or taro. The stems were slender, and when the wind blew, they swayed and bent as though paying homage, their heart-shaped leaves shivering gracefully as in a hula. And in the center of each leaf, water gathered like a mother's teardrop. The second child born of this union was named Haloa, after his older brother. The younger Haloa, firstborn man, was to respect and to be a caretaker of his older brother forevermore. In return, the elder Haloa, the root of life, would always sustain and nourish him and his descendants. The life of the Kanaka Maoli, or the indigenous people of Hawaii, is closely linked with the kalo, or taro. In reflecting family relationship, the kalo, or taro, is metaphorically described to imbue a sense of ohana throughout the growing, preparing, and eating this staple food source that provided steady nourishment. Oha means the young taro, growing from the older taro stem, and the added na makes it plural. That signifies descendants on the same family stock, whether plant or human. The taro, hulu hulu, or root planted in the ground, is the makua, parent or ancestor, the stable foundation of the family. From the makua sprout oha, offshoots called keiki, the children. Many keiki forming together with the makua become the ohana. Throughout the history of mankind and in many world cultures, plants have become to symbolize human spiritual development. Spiritual growth is like a plant, like the kalo, needing firm rooting in the earth, which is the ground of our human reality. Both the human spirit, or kokoro, meaning in essence heart, mind, mentality, emotions, feelings, and compassion, and the kalo, need constant nourishment from a life-giving source such as water and nurturing caregivers. Kalo is an expression of the continuation of life itself, the bridge between generations and the ancestors who provide food and fruition. Although the kalo is harvested when ripened, the plant itself is reborn again when the cuttings on the taro stem, that is, are broken off and replanted for the next season. In a similar manner, family members may pass on as seen in the story of Kumulipo, but as long as parts of the stem are replanted with proper nourishment, life continues. This is the story of the continuation of life, of the passing on of wisdom and compassion from generation to generation. From time immemorial, the timeless and ever-flowing of genes and the everlasting renewal of life. Let me at this time share a few thoughts on Amida Buddha and grandparents and the three qualities or characteristics of Amida Buddha. The three main characteristics, the qualities of Amida are: one, great wisdom; second, great compassion; and the third, great power. They are inseparable, but the great wisdom quality of Amida Buddha is often compared to a parent, and in this case, grandparents as well. Just as the grandparents' wise guidance to their grandchildren is unselfish and directed solely toward their welfare in their growth and in their future as well, Amida's wisdom is pure, perfect, and unlimited. A grandparent's wisdom, though great and unselfish, is limited, whereas Amida's wisdom is infinitely powerful. Amida's great wisdom leads us and saves us from our three poisons: greed, anger, and ignorance. And as he vowed as a bodhisattva in his 48th vows, he would not attain Buddhahood until and unless all beings are delivered, until all beings are saved from ignorance, suffering, and greed. His great wisdom and compassion and guarantees our future enlightenment unconditionally enables us to enjoy a happy and fruitful life in this Saha world. A poem in the Dharma Treasures written by Masato Fujikawa reads, "If the rain of harsh karma has to fall on me, let it fall. Amida shields me under the huge umbrella of compassion. Having overcome suffering of birth and death, my greediness and ignorance is like thin ice. Amida sees right through. The root of willful calculation was severed. How grateful to be a single child of Amida, like being on a treasure boat." When I graduated high school back in 1955, I was so cocky, so anxious to get away from this rock, as they say, so happy to get away from my father's grocery store to be independent and on my own, finally. But what I didn't realize was that I had never left Oahu on my own before, and that the only time I left this island was with my mother to go to Kauai to see my grandfather and great-grandmother. And so my plan was to fly to San Francisco, spend a few days there, and then go on to Wisconsin. And I was not coming back for the duration. Well, 1 month before I was supposed to leave, I was sitting and talking with my grandmother. And so she asked where I was going to stay in San Francisco and asked if I knew how to get from the airport to town. I said, no, I didn't know. Frankly, I didn't even think about it. And so she asked if she should write to her nephew and nieces who lived in Salinas. She and I had no idea where Salinas was. By then, I was so relieved that she would do this. It was only later, after I got there, and after they picked me up at the terminal, that they told me that it took them from late the night before and drove all the way up to San Francisco to meet me. They told me that my grandmother was very worried about me and wrote to them and asked them to meet me there. They drove me all around town to look at the sights and then put me up in a Japanese hotel in Japantown, Nihonmachi, on Post Street. I guess they chose that type of hotel because then I didn't have to go and look for a restaurant to eat. That hotel served meals, and the guests and family ate together. I don't know what I was thinking at that time. San Francisco is a big city, and the tallest building in Honolulu at that time was the Aloha Tower. Through fortunate past karma, through all the events of my life, these events allow me to be here today. And when I think of my life in such a way, how can I think about complaining about anything? I'm grateful just to be here right now, just as I am, living my life just as it is. When our Dharma eyes open, when we realize that we each have our own past karma that allows us to be here right now, when we open our eyes to karmic reality, we cannot help to live in deep gratitude or in the Nembutsu. When we think of Amida as immeasurable, caring, and understanding, wisdom and compassion that is nurturing us and surrounding us every day, we see that Amida is everywhere and in my life. This grandmother is also Amida. This caring and understanding person is also why I could go on. I want to read this poem to you. I did not ask for it, but the sun shines on me daily. Namo Amida Butsu. I did not ask for it, but flowers bloom and brightens my day. Namo Amida Butsu. I did not ask for it, but my friend calls out my name. Namo Amida Butsu. I did not ask for it, but my grandmother wrote a letter and changed my life. Namo Amida Butsu. As we observe Grandparents' Day, let us all be cognizant of the interdependent nature of life, so integral in our teachings, that all of life is interconnected. We try to live our lives like the teachings of the ancient Hawaiians, the Kanaka Maoli, to live our lives reflecting on the kalo. Thank you for listening. Thank you for taking the time to be together virtually. Thank you for being who you are. And have a great Grandparents' Day, and every day as well. Let's put our hands together in reverence once again as I read from Shantao. Shakyamuni and Amida are our father and mother, full of love and compassion for us, guiding us through various skillful means. They bring us to awaken the supreme Shinjing. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida, Namo Amida, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida, Namo Amida Butsu. Gently and impartially comfort the uneasy. Give selflessly to those who are in need. Teach without reserve those who wish to learn. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda. Well, thank you very much for joining us this morning in this virtual Dharma service. Next week, we'll be having our speaker will be Dr. Michael Jaffe, a member of the Windward Buddhist Temple. In the meantime, please be careful, take care of yourselves, and not get sick. Bye.